Well, hello, everyone watching this at home and online. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kara O'Neill. I work for Dark Horse Comics, and I'm joined today for a chat about comics by our creator, Faith Erin Hicks. Thank you so much for chatting with us about comics today, Faith.
Hey, no problem, Kara. Happy to be here.
As always, it's a pleasure. We've had Faith join us for a few recent streams and videos, which we will dive into a bit later. But first, Faith, can you tell folks a little bit about some of the comics you've worked on over the years, including recent comics with Dark Horse?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I think my very first comic with Dark Horse was a video game comic. I did the prequel comic to the video game The Last of Us. So I worked with the game's creator, Neil Druckmann, and we did a preview about one of the main characters in that game and her life before the events of the game. And then I had a creator-owned project with Dark Horse called The Adventures of Superhero Girl, which was very, very different. It was basically my goofy take on superheroes. It's very silly. And it ended up winning an Eisner Award for Best Kids Comic. And now I write Avatar: The Last Airbender comics for Dark Horse in collaboration with Peter Wortman, the amazing artist, the person who draws all these characters that we love so much, and Adele Matera, who provides the amazing color.
Fantastic. Yeah, folks might have heard of the Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you did not know, the comics are the official continuation of the animated series, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's why I started reading them. I was a big fan of them before I actually got the job.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I know that's not always necessarily the case with licensed comics, but I'm sure it helps and maybe saves you some research time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd watched the show many, many times before I got the job. And yeah, I was very familiar with the world and had read all of the comics done by Gene Yang and Gary Huru before I got signed on to Avatar as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dark Horse, we have quite a long line of Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra comics, which are, of course, done in full partnership with Nickelodeon. And yeah, as you mentioned, the first ones were with Gene Luen Yang and Michael DiMartino and the whole gang. And then we've gotten to work with more creators over time, including Faith, now kind of taking over writing duties. You recently joined us for a live reading with some of the Avatar animated series cast for one of the most recent books, Toph Beifong's Metalbending Academy. How was that? How was your voice acting debut?
Well, I do not have a career ahead of me in voice acting. I'll just say that I'm not talented in that area, but it was an absolute thrill to have not only the voice actors from Avatar, but Phil Lamar, who is the voice of Samurai Jack, come in and read my script. It was amazing, like just total career highlight. It was so funny. Like, it's so funny too, because like you hear the voice actors speaking and like speaking in their character voices, but it's like you see their human faces and it's like, wait, that's Sokka, but it's Jack DeSena. It's like a human man is speaking in Sokka's voice. So it's such a strange disconnect. It's so funny. But I thoroughly enjoyed that live stream. It was such a treat.
Well, thank you again for doing that with us, and for humoring everybody. And you and Peter both got to do some voices with everyone. It was really fun for those watching at home. Now you can watch that live reading on our YouTube channel now and on Nickelodeon's. It was a really fun partnership. So yeah, you can watch that on demand anytime on our YouTube channels. So Faith, maybe let's backtrack a little bit though. And can you tell us more about how you got started working on the Avatar comics in the first place?
Oh, well, I was just a big fan at first, and I remember I had made some comics basically about being a fan and about what Avatar meant to me. Especially as a young woman who loves animation. My background is in animation. I actually went to college and did classical animation. And I remember I was in a class of, I think, 60 students, and I think like 15 of them were women. And it was very rare, I felt like at the time, where you saw like female characters who were like tough and strong, like Toph. Toph was a character that I immediately fell in love with. So I'd done some comics and posted them on my slightly defunct now Tumblr about what Avatar meant to me, as a woman who loves animation, just as a fan of animation. And Brian Konietzko actually saw those comics and reached out, and we became online friends and just chatted a bit. And then when Gene felt it was time for him to move on, I had done a variety of comics up until that point, writing and drawing my own. And one comic in particular I'd done was a fantasy series called The Nameless City, which is published by First Second Books. And that series was very much inspired by Avatar. So I'd done like an original homage to Avatar. And then, Brian had seen it and I guess knew what my abilities were. So based on that, both he and Gene and Dark Horse as well reached out and asked if I was willing to come on board as a writer. And then we found Peter. And yeah, I was already a fan of Peter's work before we started working together. I don't know. It was just one of those things where it's like, thank you, internet, for putting me in touch with all these amazing people, my artistic heroes. And I don't know, it just shows, the power of talking about things that you love and, just drawing comics about things you love. You never know who's looking at your comics.
Good point. And kind of a no-brainer, I guess, for you to say, yes, I would love to work on this.
Yeah, and I've said this before in other interviews, to be honest, I was very, very nervous, and I still get anxious writing Avatar because it is a series that I love so much. I feel like it is kind of the platonic ideal of, an action adventure fantasy animated series for enthusiastic young animation fans. And I was intimidated at first. It was very nerve-wracking writing the first series that I did, which was Imbalance. But yeah, now I'm more comfortable with the world and it's a little less terrifying. But I always want to work my hardest on this series because I love it so much.
Well, they've all been extremely well received. They're so popular, and it's such a treat to get to interact with that fan base. They're so invested, and with so invested. I mean, I'm sure that is very nerve-wracking. I know we've had it because we also do the Legend of Korra comics, and they're also a continuation. And yeah, so there's a lot to consider, and fans have strong opinions. But I mean, they're very enthusiastic. Like I said, they're mostly
it always
positive.
comes from a place of love, which I appreciate because I'm a fan too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's definitely something to keep in mind is all of us who work on these, it's exciting and we are fans as well. So, so you've moved on from Imbalance. Now we have these standalone graphic novels that are coming out. We've done Katara and the Pirate Silver. And we did the Toph Beifong's Metalbending Academy, now infamous and watchable. Next up, can you tell us more about the next standalone graphic novel we have coming?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to say this is my favorite of the three standalone comics because, that's like picking a favorite kid and you shouldn't do that. But I really love this one. This one, the next coming Avatar graphic novel is called Suki Alone. And it is explicitly focused on Suki. It is her story from beginning to end. And it is about her time in the Boiling Rock, the horrible prison that she was sent to after she was captured. She and the other Kyoshi warriors were captured by Azula. And, there's a couple of there's Zuko Alone and then Korra Alone, which are, episodes in both Avatar and then in Legend of Korra. And they really focus on one character struggling and one character going through their lowest point. And this is kind of what it is for Suki. It's her struggle. And then hopefully, I don't want to say her triumph because that's not necessarily how the story goes. And also, I don't want to give away spoilers, but it's very heartfelt. It's very, very different from the other two graphic novels, which I standalone graphic novels, which were more comedic, more fun, had lots of fighting in them. This one, I feel like it's a heartbreaker. So I really hope people enjoy it because I really love it. And Peter just went above and beyond in terms of drawing the emotions on the page.
Well, get ready maybe for some tears and a deep dive into Suki's character. I think that will be it's fun to get the deep dive into individual characters.
And I feel like of Team Avatar, she's the one we've explored the least. I feel like we know who she is and we know where she came from, but we haven't seen a lot of her life. So this was a really exciting project. And I got a lovely compliment from Tim Hendrick, who, one of the original writers on the series. And I keep that close to my
Oh, I'm so excited. That will be out very soon. It comes out later this summer, folks, both comic shops and bookstores. Can you maybe just give folks a little bit of insight? What age range is it most suited for? Things like that.
I mean, I feel like it would be probably the age range of the show. So I'm not sure exactly what age range they're aiming for the show, but I feel like it would be appropriate for like 7 and up. I mean, there's nothing in it that's objectionable. There's no swearing or nudity or anything like that. But it is a complicated story and a story with deep emotions that can sometimes be upsetting to very young readers. So I would say 7 and up is probably appropriate.
Perfect. Yeah, we frequently are asked, especially from booksellers, librarians, and teachers about age ratings for comics. And unfortunately, there's not one solid rating system, but
yeah, and it's hard because like each kid is different, like I did this fantasy series called The Nameless City, and I really did not aim it at young children, but every now and then I'll get a parent emailing me being like, oh, my 6-year-old really enjoys this. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. So it really varies from kid to kid, but I usually go by, is there swearing? Is there nudity? Is there graphic violence? If no, then, your small child will probably enjoy it. If maybe the nuances of the story will go slightly over their head.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think that pretty much can apply to our full line of Avatar graphic novels and Korra too, maybe skewing slightly older, just like the show. But I think the show is a good benchmark.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said I agree.
Well, we don't have a ton of time for this, so unfortunately, we could chat all day about all things Avatar as well as comics in general. But closing thoughts: are there any other upcoming comics or collections or projects that you would like to talk about, or advice for comics creators, aspiring creators?
My advice for aspiring creators is just make comics. If that's what I did when I started, and I just dove into the deep end and just started flailing about and making comics. And you're going to make a lot of bad comics at the beginning, but you're going to get better. And yeah, I feel like that's the best way to get into the comic industry if that's something you're interested in. Just make comics. As for upcoming work, we have the Suki comic coming up. I think there's probably going to be a collected like library edition of all 3 of those books coming out at some point.
Eventually, most likely, yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea when though. And then next year, I have an original graphic novel written and drawn by me called Ride On, published by First Second Books, and it's about girls and horses and Star Trek.
You just pushed like all of my buttons right there, so yes. I'm already on board.
Excellent.
Hopefully. Perfect. And yeah, Suki alone will be out later this summer. Look for that. Comic shops, bookstores coming your way. Thank you so much, Faith, for joining us to chat, albeit briefly, about all things comics and Avatar especially.
Yeah, no problem at all. This was lovely. And yeah, hopefully people enjoy Suki alone when it comes out.
And for folks watching at home, you can find more details on all of these books on our website, darkhorse.com, of course. And let us know if you have any questions. We are available via social media at Dark Horse Comics. Hit us up. But thank you again to Faith, and we will sign off. Enjoy the rest of your convention, folks.